I decided to challenge myself to a year of celibacy.
No sex, no dating, and no relationships.
I've been in back-to-back relationships since I was 17. After every breakup, I would say that I wanted to be single or try out this hoe phase. But literally no more than 3 months later, I would wind up in another relationship. And this would happen again and again. So after my last breakup, I realized I needed to set some firm boundaries with myself if I genuinely wanted to commit to being single and focusing on my own growth. Because honestly, the only way to grow or break an old cycle is to do something extremely different. And being celibate and single is extremely different for me. I love love. I love falling in love. I think I used falling in love as a way to suppress heartbreak from past breakups. It's not a cycle that I want to keep repeating. I also realized that being in partnerships, I was drawing a lot of my sense of being loved, security, and comfort from one other person. It was easy for me to give up so much of my mental real estate and energy towards them. So when I saw myself possibly slipping into that same cycle again, I decided it's time to put my foot down.
What did celibacy teach you about yourself? I learned to be a lot better to myself.
It was really hard in the beginning, especially the first few months. I felt incredibly lonely. It was difficult not having that one person that I could call and just be on the phone with through times of trouble. And I know you can have that with friends as well, but I hadn't kept up with or created friendships where I could be that close with someone. Looking back, it was also the time where I started learning how to be there for myself and how to hold space for my own emotions. Instead of looking for distractions or suppressing them, I would just sit with myself, let myself cry uncontrollably instead of trying to look for other vices like social media or sex or food to distract myself. Growing up, you're kind of taught to not hold space for yourself in the way that adults will say don't cry or try to give you candy to distract you when you're feeling really upset. So I think that was a skill I needed to relearn, just letting myself cry and feel sad just as you would for a friend going through a hard time. In that same vein, I also learned how to encourage myself more. Things that I had wished I'd done more while I was in my relationships or wish my partner had done more, I just started doing that for myself. Whether that's taking solo dates, living alone for the first time in my life, or signing up for a 10-day silent meditation because I'd always wished my partner would meditate more, so then I would also meditate more. But instead just being okay, stop worrying about how someone else can do better. Just direct all that energy into doing better yourself. And honestly, the results were pretty incredible. I learned for the first time how to sit in stillness for hours on end. I learned to connect more deeply with the earth and just be kinder to myself. The other day, I was actually looking back on an old video from 2021 when I first started doing therapy, thanks to BetterHelp, who is the sponsor of today's video. My therapist, Veronica, had helped me create 3 goals that I wanted to work on. At that time, I was going through such intense burnout, anxiety, and irritability. It was honestly uncomfy to watch back that old video of myself, but it also made me realize how much this year of celibacy has helped me move towards those goals. Number 1 being stabilizing my emotions and learning to control my thought patterns, which is essentially learning how to self-soothe and catching myself when I'm spiraling into negative thoughts, grounding myself again, whether that was through journaling or just literally talking out loud to myself. I catch myself on a regular basis, calming myself down, and whenever I think in a way that isn't constructive, I'll encourage myself to recreate that thought in a better light. Number 2 is letting go of the immense pressure and expectations I was putting on myself. Growing up, all of my validation came from metrics like my grades, and as an adult, I still held those standards of evaluating myself based on my productivity levels, how well my videos are doing, and it just became became so toxic to the point where I was journaling and I realized I just never felt like I was enough. I'm now much better at reminding myself to know that I'm worthy and I'm enough just as I am. Breathing, sleeping, pooping is like enough. Number 3 is being more patient and understanding with myself. This honestly feels like one of the hardest parts because I was so used to just having very unrealistic expectations and feeling like I always needed to do more or be more. But this past year, I've just been trying to be more gentle with myself, be more patient that everything that I want to do and I want to become will happen. And there's enough time to do everything that we want in this world. There's no rush. Any emotion, any situation that comes up, hold space for it. Don't judge it. Don't try to control it. Just letting it be, observing it, and letting it pass in its own time. Before you go on to talking about cultivating friendships and answer your questions about attraction and crushes, I do want to thank today's sponsor, BetterHelp, and say that if you are looking for professional guidance on your journey of introspection, I would highly recommend BetterHelp as an accessible and easy way to start therapy. They really helped me expedite my journey through having an incredibly simple and tailored sign-up process where I could filter easily for a queer-friendly female BIPOC counselor. I also really appreciate the option to switch therapists for free so that you can easily find someone who fits your needs and personality. My preferred method of communication was always doing a phone call, but you can also do video calls or text messages. So if you'd like to give it a try, you can use the link below for 10% off your first month. So as spring came and I embarked on my 6-month nomadic journey through Europe, I came face to face with my biggest concern when I committed to celibacy, which is attraction. Is it okay to have a crush during celibacy? This response is current Leah. Of course. Feeling attraction and appreciation towards other human beings is normal. Like, there's so many beautiful, amazing people in this world. Like, how could you not have a little crush here and there? Well, it would be quite impossible to magically stop yourself from having crushes for a certain period of time. That's what I would answer you right now. But past Leah did not know that at the time. In fact, in my first half of my celibacy journey, I was so scared of getting crushes. I would literally gaslight myself so hard when someone I thought was cute was flirting with me. At one point, this guy kissed my neck goodbye. And he did like sending signals the whole night. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it's just like a Swiss-German thing. Like, I've never been to Swiss Germany. Maybe they're just different. Maybe it's like a etiquette thing. You know, some people in France kiss 3 times on the cheek. Yeah, I went to visit Switzerland later, and obviously that was not a thing. But I would literally gaslight myself so hard, be like, oh my god, it's just cultural differences. I ended up having dreams about them later, so like, it was suppression to its finest. It was only in June during my Vipassana meditation that I realized feelings of attraction or arousal don't need to be feared. You can simply acknowledge them, and it doesn't mean that you have to act upon them or suppress them so intensely. In fact, putting so much energy into craving something or pushing something away just kind of exacerbates the situation. So what I did instead was just observe this admiration and appreciation for someone else. And I think that itself is so fulfilling. Focusing on like what you like about this other person, why they're so special, rather than being so caught up in, oh, this needs to go somewhere, or this has to be this, or what are they thinking about me? And same goes to reciprocated attraction. Bask in the feeling of someone else's appreciation for you. And that in itself, without any action, is already so special. If things are meant to progress beyond that, I have full trust that we will find each other again sometime in the future. Life is long. There's time for everything. There are also other people in my life that I was hesitant about seeing because they had some type of flirtatious undertone to them at some point or another. But then after hanging out, things just naturally drifted into a friendship, and Had I not been celibate or single, it might have taken me a lot longer to realize that we were just better off as friends. How has celibacy influenced your views on sex? Ironically, not having sex or being in a relationship actually gave me a lot of time to observe and reflect on this aspect of my life, what I actually wanted in a relationship, and I made an entire video on how my views of sex, sexuality, and relationship structures have changed. I'll link that down below if you are interested. So as the year was unfolding, one of the most nourishing parts of my life were the new friendships I'd made along the way. Being single and secure in the love I had for myself meant I had so much energy to pour into cultivating the platonic relationships I found fulfillment and acceptance in. The blossoming of one beautiful friendship led to the blossoms of many more as we introduced each other to more and more of our friends. I felt like I could live in this never-ending friendship world filled with laughter and tears, recounting stories and making new ones, accepting each other at our best and our worst. Media has always framed romantic relationships as this pinnacle, ultimate form of human connection, so I never invested as much time and love into my friendships as I do now.
Delicious.
I also always held a small level of reservation with my female friendships because of negative experiences I've had in the past. I knew in order to rewrite this narrative in my consciousness, I really needed to lean into the female friendships I had cultivated who made me feel so safe and accepted. And this meant opening up about my anxieties, being willing to show vulnerability in order to rewire my brain, and knowing that I could still be met with empathy and acceptance even when I was feeling at my lowest. And I have to say that my friends have been so kind and so sweet and just unimaginably accepting. Still puts me in awe every day when I think about it. But in order to feel more love from your friendships, you also gotta give more love. And the motto I gave myself was to date my friends. Extending those gestures that I used to only reserve for significant others. Even little things that I wouldn't do as much for my friends, I tried to do more of, like treating them to a tea, a meal, groceries, or flowers, linking arms or hugging more to show my love through physical touch, planning a cute day together, writing them a postcard, spontaneously giving them a call, or just simply carving out more time to hang out. These are also actions I've been trying to extend towards my family. I feel like being in relationships, I definitely relied more on my significant other than my family. So I've just been encouraging myself to try to become closer and more open with them, whether that's spending more quality time together, being present for birthdays, and just figuring out how to be a more patient and accepting person around them. It's still easy for me to get swept up by work stresses or take their opinions of me too heavily. Sometimes our closest relationships are honestly the hardest to remain zen around. But it's something that I'm actively working on, and I do think has seen improvements in the past year. The most surprising relationship I've nourished in this year's time that I did not foresee at all was my relationship with nature. I never really understood this when people talked about it in the past, but for the first time in my life, it fully clicked in my head, or in the way that I felt of how much love and sensuality nature holds. Just feeling embraced by bodies of water I would swim in, caressed by a breeze that comes by, or just feeling so safe and held sitting with my back against a tree trunk. The most magical moment I experienced this past year was actually swimming nude for the first time in the ocean under this full moon on August 8th. I've never felt so enveloped and held in my whole life. The water looked like black oil with the reflection of the moonlight onto it. I could feel the warm, soft waves just gently touching my entire body. And I used to fear swimming in bodies of water I couldn't see the bottom of, yet there I was swimming in the dark ocean with two girls I'd only met earlier that day, and they both offered to host me during my short stay in Brighton. We ended up spending the whole 2 days together, journaling, swimming, enjoying all the vegan food the city had to offer. And although it was only a short blip of time, we felt so much love, admiration, and acceptance for one another that I'll remember for the rest of my life, and I'm sure we will see each other's faces again soon. Going into it, I had no idea what to expect or how it would change, but coming out the other side, I can safely say that this year has made me feel more confident and at home in myself. It's taught me how to be a better friend and ironically also a better partner just by being better to myself. I think the main thing that celibacy did was show me all of the different ways we can experience love, intimacy, and sensuality outside of sex. Of course, all of these changes can be experienced with or without celibacy. So for those of you asking whether you think it's better to wait to have sex or to have sex first, there's no right answer. I think the only thing that is ubiquitous is that growth will always come from outside of our comfort zone, from challenging ourselves to do things that are uncomfortable or unfamiliar. So at the end of the day, listen to your gut. I think you know what's best. And if you do try this or have tried it already, please let me know what you experienced down below, because that's what makes the human experience interesting. We all have different ones, so please share. I always love reading your messages. I'm gonna go for a walk now. It's very sunny outside today.